Hi, Prim. Good morning. Fine, thank you. You seem to be muted, though. Hi, everyone.
Sorry.
Uh,
Hi. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for making it here today. Good morning,
you.
everyone that is joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Those who are able to turn their cameras on, please do. Would love to see you, get to know who's joining us today. You can also let us know on the chat what your name is, where you're joining us from, what your expectations from today's session are, so that we can get to interact. We'll just give a minute or three for those people that are still joining us. We also expect another facilitator. I do not see him on the call yet, so let's give him a minute or two. And also the team from Bakash Media Foundation, and then we'll be starting shortly. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. The Bakash team is here. Our other facilitator is also here. Thank you so much, Kana, for joining us this morning. So I'd like to officially welcome everyone to today's session of the Career Essentials program. Our lovely facilitators are already on the call. We're happy to see them, and also other people are still joining us. So we'll just kick off, and the rest will find us along the way. So as usual, you are most welcome to this week's session of the Future of Work program that is organized by Bakash Media Foundation in collaboration with the Innovation Village. Today's topic will be self-care strategies for career success, balancing work and well-being. And we have with us very knowledgeable facilitators that are in the space, and they'll be able to share with us some nuggets on how we can strike a balance between self-care, well-being, but also with our work. This Future of Work program under the Career Essentials Initiative by Bakash Media Foundation goes on every week, and I'm going to invite one of the representatives from Bakash Media Foundation to give us a brief. What is this about? What kind of people do we target? How often does it happen? How can we get more information about it? And why should we be here? My name is Natasha Katondochi. I will be your moderator for that day. And I'll be happy to engage with all of you. So at this juncture, I would like to invite Isaac to tell us more about the Future of Work series, the Bakash Media Foundation, and everything we need to know about this program. Over to you, Isaac.
All right. Hi, Natasha. Could you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good morning to all on the call on this cold Thursday morning. My name is Isaac. I'm the team lead and founder of Bakash Media Foundation. I welcome you all to our fourth session of the Career Essential Series, a comprehensive initiative we are implementing with the Innovation Village and, of course, supported by the MasterCard Foundation. I've seen some here on the call today. I welcome you all, our facilitators today. This is a weekly series that run on Thursday, and we always have different trainers that come on board to guide us different topics in the line of the future of work. So we're having the online sessions that have been going on. This is the fourth one, and the physical ones are going to start in June, and these will be at the universities, Victoria University, Shambogo and Mukono. So we'll come you all, and we'll be letting you know when they're going to happen, and would like to have you participate through those sessions. Our facilitators today, Primrose Nyonyozi, she has been with us before, last year, I think, one of our X-Spaces. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and we can't wait to hear from you. Canary Mugume has been part of our community members. He has seen us since I think we started our first session at Makerere. That was around 2019, and we always learn a lot from him, and it's always a pleasure having him support us in different ways. So thank you so much, Canary, for always sparing time to join us in this busy schedule, and we can't also wait to hear your story and how you can really guide us on this future of work series. Otherwise, thank you so much, members. The poll is going to be running. I think someone in charge, Bruno, after the discussion, will have the poll up to see your suggestions, how the sessions have been performing, and what we can improve here and there. Otherwise, thank you so much. I think Natasha. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Isaac. And thank you for this great initiative. I think it's a really, really helpful program, especially these trainings for, young graduates out there and young people who are trying to forge their path into the career space. So we definitely look forward to today's session and also the sessions to come. So like he shared, we're going to be hearing from our trainers today regarding the topic at hand. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A session. So while you listen, prepare your questions. We'll take all the questions at once, such that we can allow our trainers to answer all of them at once to save time. And then after that, we shall have a poll. The poll usually helps to give us feedback so that you can be able to curate sessions that are relevant to you and your needs in the career space. After the poll, we shall take a group photo, and then we can depart at will. So at this juncture, would like to get into the reason we are here. Our facilitators are already on the call. We shall apply the principle of ladies first. So I'd like to invite one of our lovely facilitators today, Primrose Murungi, who is a digital content creator and also an entrepreneur, and she has loads of experience in this area. So we're going to be learning from her today. Over to you, Prim.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Murungi Primrose Nyonyozi. I'm a digital content creator, an entrepreneur, and a brand strategist, and I'm also a civil servant. So I'm at work in case you hear any, I work at the airport, so in case you hear any noise coming through announcing flights and stuff, I do apologize in advance for that. So today, I'm very, very honored that you invited me to talk about something that I'm in a meeting. Thank you. Sorry. That you invited me to talk about something that is very passionate and dear to me, and that is self-awareness, self-care, especially in the workspace. One thing that I would like us to talk about before we go anywhere is that you are the most important human being to yourself. You are the most important thing to yourself. So it's important that we take care of ourselves, and it's important that we take care of ourselves wholesomely, and that's emotional, social, physical and mental, mental wellness, because that is the vessel that helps you to achieve everything that you hope to achieve in future. I'm very happy that, you know, Bakash Media Foundation is hosting such things, because I really wish that by the time we finished university in, I think 2014 or 2015, I wish that someone had such classes to prepare us to go out into the world, to tell us what to expect, and to just, you know, guide us on this journey, to have someone to walk this journey with us, because we've had to figure out most of these things on our own. And I don't wish that for anyone. It's very important to know that there's someone that is holding your hand, that there'll be classes like these where you pick up some knowledge and, you know, understanding for yourself. So I had compiled a whole, I thought this was going to be an hour, so I'd compiled a whole document, but I'm going to just like go through it very, very, very fast, as, you know, as fast as I can, so that I can fit my time of presentation. So I'm going to talk about I'm going to introduce to you what self-care means to me. And for me, I think it's just like the intentional, well, you know, being intentional about taking care of your self-being, of your well-being. And this could include physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual wellness. So I'm going to try and tailor this in regards to workspaces, because we are trying to prepare younger people and also ourselves for workspaces and workplaces, right? So I'm going to first ask you a question. When was a question that my therapist asked me about 3 weeks ago? She asked me, when was the last time that you actually felt where you are seated? She's like, when was the last time you felt your seat? And she said something like, first, like, take some time, breathe in and out, and feel your seat. Okay. So most times, and that's when I realized that I'll come and sit in my car and I'll be very restless, because I'll not even lean back. I never lean back in the seat, because I'm just trying to drive and get to the next space. So we live life in go, 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 go. So I want to pose the same question to you. When was the last time you felt your seat? Like, became really comfortable and felt your seat and felt your chair, the chair beneath your, you know, your butt, and felt like your body lean against a chair, and like just be present and feel that chair. So when was the last time you did that? So that's something that, you know, we can check. So each of you, feel your chair, feel your chair. It's something, as you know, it's something very small, but please do feel your chair, lean back, or at least just feel where you are seated. Like, let your body feel, you know, contact with where you are seated, let it be present. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about what, you know, self-care could look like. It could look like spending time in nature. It could look like engaging in your hobbies and creative pursuits. So today I'm here and I'm invited as a digital content creator. For me, that is my pursuit. I have like a whole other career. I'm a civil servant, and that's a space that I want to grow in. Public service, I want to grow in, you know, like different sectors, but I'm passionate about content creation. So today I'm seated here as a content creator. Oh, sorry, I do apologize for the internet. I don't know if you can still hear me, but yeah, it could talk about, it could mean something like, you know, caring about your passion project. Some people like, you know, weaving, some people like sewing, some people like cooking, some people like, you know, playing tennis, other people like playing chess, you know, seeking social support, that, you know, like hanging out with your friends. It could also look like setting boundaries, especially in workplaces. One thing that I can tell young people that are joining the workforce today is that your workmates can only be your friends if you choose to make them your friends. But other than that, they are your colleagues, they are your workmates, and that's just it. So some of the importances of focusing on self-care is that it helps us to maintain physical, emotional, and mental health for ourselves. So it helps us to manage stress, it helps us to improve our quality of life, and it also brings self-fulfillment. Self-care could look like, you know, for me, one of the things that brings me self-fulfillment, for example, is just doing digital content creation. I cannot tell you how much it saved me, how much it has taken me and supported me through my career. It feels like I have something on the side, like a guilty pleasure that pours into me, because digital content creation for me is the one thing that I do for me and no one else. And that like oils the machine that now I present to my other workplace, which, you know, like takes care of me and pays my bills, and, you know, the 9 to 5, what we call the 9 to 5. So it can also help us to improve productivity at work, because there's so many things that I learn and people that I interact with on the outside in this digital content space that in turn, I get to, you know, I get to bring into my own physical space and my own workspace, and they guide me, they help me, and, you know, they support me. So it can look, you know, some of the roles that self-care can do for us. So it also really improves confidence and self-esteem. I would like to first take a pause and emphasize and talk about self-esteem. This is something that manifests so differently in different aspects of our lives. Sometimes it could feel like, oh, you're very confident. People could tell you, I admire your confidence because, well, you're able to wear a mini skirt, you're able to wear a crop top, or you're able to stand up and give a speech eloquently. You're able to do things that other people don't find easy. But self-esteem can also manifest, for example, low self-esteem manifests. You could be someone that is so brilliant, but you never put up your hand to, you know, raise a point in a meeting. You could be someone that knows something, that solves problems, but you're comfortable just being silent and being quiet under the table. You're the kind of person who supports other people to excel. And then you see them excelling, you see them being promoted, and you're like, why isn't this happening for me? But it's because you prefer being in a corner, you prefer being a wallflower. I'm always telling people on my platform that do not be a wallflower, do not go through life, you know, like gentle. There's a poem that says something like, do not go gentle into the wind. Do not just live through life unseen. Okay. But one thing I know is that if you do invest in your self-care, for example, the fact that we talk about learning different hobbies, you know, it could also be improving skills in other spaces. It gives you the confidence to appear in workspaces, knowing that I know this, I am good at this, I am an authority and I can speak on this, I am a figure in this. Such things improve, you know, confidence. They also improve, you know, productivity. It also changes your social relations, because some people's self-care looks like hanging out with friends. It looks like going for different small events up and about town. And, you know, like, you know, for example, quiz night is something that we all understand. We've seen it in different spaces. I've been there, and there's knowledge that I'll get from quiz night that will make me feel like, oh yeah, I can apply this knowledge somewhere. One day, if I'm in a work meeting and they ask about this, I'll be able to, you know, put up my hand and talk about this. One day, if I'm in an interview, I'll be able to pass such a question, right? So I had a small exercise for self-care where I wanted to ask you guys to break our self-care routines into physical, emotional, mental, social, and spiritual self-care. So physical self-care could look like, how often do you exercise? How often do you sleep? Do you sleep enough? What's your typical diet like? What do you eat? I can't believe that I've only understood a balanced diet in my 30s. That's when I've understood what it means to, you know, like eat fruits and the importance of fruits, why it's important to have in your body, and which foods are rich in iron, which foods are rich in, you know, like provide vitamin D, why you need magnesium or calcium, why you need to move your body every now and then, especially for people who are joining a workforce or workspace. You'll find that a lot of people spend the entire day seated in office. And so there are certain things you need to move your body at the end of the day. When you leave your 9 to 5, you need to be able to walk so that you can think. One thing that used to happen to me when I had just started working at the airport, for example, was that it was so busy that I would get to work at 6 a.m. and I would get home at like 10 p.m. It was always dark. Like I was always driving in the dark. Ruth, please carry that bucket, please. Sorry. So I would find that I am so stressed by the time I get home, and I needed an outlet. I needed to be able to channel my energy in a way. So I ended up cleaning. I used to reach home and clean an already clean house at 10 p.m. because I just needed to do something in order to settle. So what does physical self-care look like to you? It could also contain we have emotional self-care. How often do you take time to relax and unwind and just, we call it killing brain cells, and just kill brain cells? I know people who watch shows that are, you know, like watch TV and watch like, you know, the most mundane shows, not a documentary, nothing, just and then show, like, people who like just seeing, like, say Net Geo, or just seeing, those shows where people eat food for competition, like just the smallest things. Also, it could also look like, how often do you express your emotions? It could even be to your colleagues, it could even be to your supervisors, because when you don't express yourself, or when you don't express your emotions, it just leaves you very disgruntled and very, very suffocated, and it makes you unbearable. It makes others also very agitating and very irritating. So look at your self-care routine in terms of your mental space. We also have social self-care. How often do you connect with loved ones and friends? Do you have a support system or community? Sometimes we feel like our friends are not really good friends because we have been, you use the same person. You talk to them about your relationships, you talk to them about finances, you talk to them about work, but do you have a support system? Do you have someone you go to for finances? Do you have someone you go to, like, that's why we have mentorships at work. That's why we have spaces like this. Do you have someone you go to when you want to talk about work, when you want to talk about just normal well-being? Do you have someone for that? Do you have, what does spiritual self-care look like to you? How often do you practice mindfulness and meditation? I am guilty that I've not done this before, but do you have a sense of purpose or meaning of life? What does that look like to you? You'll find that differs for each and every one, right? There are some people, that's why I keep, things are very relative. There's some people who will be very ambitious in life. They want to go so far, blah, blah, blah. And then there's some people who just are okay. You look at such a person and you feel like so-and-so is very average. They just want the average life. They want to go through life, just like being mediocre, but that's not it. The things that you're chasing are not the things they're chasing. It's life looks different for them. And that is okay. When you meet such people and they're comfortable with where they are, it doesn't make them mediocre. It just makes them, they made their peace. They don't want so much out of life. The things that the rest of us are chasing, the titles, the what, they don't want those things. They've decided what they want and they want to stay in their corner, and that's okay. So what does an accomplished life look like for you? Like, what is your dream life like? And just create tools to go, to chase that and to achieve that, okay? So it could also, lastly, spiritual self-care could also look like, how do you connect with something that is greater than yourself? Some people do believe in God, and that is greater than yourself. I do believe in God, but there's some people who also believe that, there's no God, and they believe in nature, they believe in so many other things. So what does that look like for you? So I would like us to go briefly into workspaces and, stress in workspaces. So what could be some of the causes of that? It could look like workload and responsibilities. You could be, sometimes you've noticed how sometimes in workspaces, there's someone who goes for maternity leave and they pile all that work on you. Or someone, resigns and they pile all that work on you, but no one is going to say something like, oh, we are going to give you an allowance for carrying this work and XX's work. No, you find that all that is on one person. So another cause of stress could be control and autonomy. There are some people who have like managers that like to micromanage, that don't, someone gives you power, but they don't really give you power. You don't make the decisions at the end of the day. Or you find that you make a decision, someone goes to the same manager who gave you power and tells them this and that, and your manager calls you and now cancels your decision. Such things can be very, very frustrating. And these are things that we ought to be prepared for as we join the workforce, as we maneuver the workforce. How do we go about such things? It could also look like a work environment and culture that is unsupportive. You could have people, you could work with people who just keep putting you down, that just keep saying, oh, so-and-so bought a new shoe, and they'll make so much fun of you. They will mock you. They could just, oh, so-and-so put up their hand. Oh, should we now say that you're applying for this promotion? You put in your papers, for promotion, and people start laughing. Did you think you would really get it? So such toxic work environments. But also work stress could come from job insecurity, which I can tell you is very, very common, especially right now in the times that, especially post. A lot of people have been laid off from work. Organizations have closed, organizations have left, others have merged. And then also work-life balance can be quite difficult. And that is where I wanted us to center our discussion today. I know that lately, the truth is you need different sources of income to survive. It's just what the reality is. But also we are not told how to sustain mentally, emotionally, to sustain these different sources of income, because they're going to require you to actually sort of actively be involved in, you know, generating the income. So personally, I have about 3 or 4 jobs that I'm doing. And I want to tell you that sometimes it will be very draining. But what I've managed to do is that I've managed to create systems like calendars, put in place things like calendars to know when I can do this type of work, when I'm able to do, let's say, content creation, when I do my, you know, this job, and when I do the other jobs within the week, but also find time for myself. Because, sorry, I'm in a meeting. There'll be days that I take off like a whole day, just like black it out and do nothing, and just probably go for a walk, or, you know, just read, or just like take it in, just do nothing that day, so that I can recuperate, so that I can strengthen myself to be able to take on other things, to be able to take on this other job. I realize that taking care of me is the #1 priority, because I am the one that does all the other jobs or generates the sources of income per se. So there could be consequences that come from, you know, chronic work stress and burnout. And this could look like, you know, depression. They could look like anxiety. Anxiety could even stem from the fear that you're going to be fired, the fear that your source of income tomorrow could be taken away, the fear that tomorrow you won't be able to, you know, come to work. And that is something that later leads into other mental illnesses. And this is very common in workspaces. And unfortunately, it's going unnoticed by administration. It's not something we are talking about enough. So if we are not talking about it enough, and let's say your job is not going to save you, your employer is not going to save you, it is you that is going to save yourself. So be very mindful about your well-being. Be able to notice patterns. I would like you to get in touch with yourself and notice patterns. I would be very honest with you. There are things you'll even notice, like the changes in hormones. For women, you know that, you know, I'm heading towards my period. So you'll find that, you know, you're either low productivity, you're tired, you're just constantly tired. Then some, you know, when it comes to like maternity leave, you'll find that some spaces, sorry, I'm in a meeting. You'll find that in some spaces, maternity leave is only a month. So these are things that, you know, we look at, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to make yourself your #1 priority, okay? Because the workplace is not going to do that for you. Your employer is not going to miraculously come and look at you and say, oh, you look like you're exhausted, please take annual leave. Do that for yourself. Do take annual leave for yourself. Be like, don't put it aside because, you know, you think that, oh, when I go, the company will collapse without me. No, it will continue to survive without you. So always take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, first of all, now it leads to, you could become, that's when people start absenting themselves. You're not even being any productive to the company that you're trying to serve. You're not helping them in any way. And you're also not helping yourself eventually. So I had talked about some consequences to the organization themselves, like reduced morale. Let's say there's an HR here and, you know, they watch this, it could be reduced morale. It could lead to negative work culture. I've seen spaces where people dread coming to work. They're like, oh my God, it's Monday. It's another day to go to work and just deal with this kind of, you know, work environment, right? So before I wrap it up, I would like to also tell you that self-care looks like, you know, protecting your space in the workplace. It's you drawing boundaries in the workspace, because today we want to talk about workspaces. So you draw your boundaries, okay? You can maintain a cordial relationship. There's a way to maintain a cordial relationship with your workmates and colleagues without necessarily being friends, without necessarily taking them to your house, or, you know, you going to your house. And it doesn't mean that, you know, you hate them. It doesn't mean that they hate you. And for someone else who has set boundaries, to you, it might look like so-and-so is just being very unfriendly, or so-and-so just doesn't like to come for our group group, get-togethers, but it doesn't look like that. They probably just set boundaries that, you know what, my colleagues are not my friends, and that's it. But also taking care of yourself means that you're able to give your workspace as much productivity as possible. It means that you're able to grow your career, because you need to be alive and well enough for you to grow your career long term, for you to be able to achieve all the things that you want to, achieve. And recently, when I turned 33, I looked at the fact that there are people that you find, let's say Jeff Bezos, if you read about him, you find that he has a hobby. You find that when you read, have you ever Googled these public figures? You find the person likes to play tennis. The person is a father, a husband, they're a CEO. They also sit on so many philanthropy, chapters and stuff. And you're like, where do they get the time from? When do they get the time from? But it's because these people have learned to create, they've created calendars, they've prioritized, they've created systems. So that's why, and I told myself when I turned 33 that I'm actually going to go back into doing things that I actively like. I'm going to go back to playing Scrabble, because the time is actually there. You can make that time, because it makes me really, really happy. And I told myself I'm going to learn how to swim. And if, let's say someday I'm called for competitions or something, I'll be able to go. Like most of these things that look like they are very far away from us are actually close to us. We can do these things. You can find that that a CEO somewhere plays tennis, competitive tennis somewhere on the weekend, or they play volleyball, or they're in Rotaract, like there's time for us to be able to do all these things. Is it Rotaract or Rotary? Anyway, yeah, that they do, that there's time for us to do all these things. We just need to create systems. And at the end of the day, all these things really pour back into us so that we are able to be productive enough for the workspaces that we want to join, but also to just be well enough. It's important that you are well enough for your workspace. If you like it, you need to be well enough for your workspace, for your family, for your friends, and for yourself. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really hope that I was going through this very fast because I had 15 minutes to present. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Prem. I think that has been very, very detailed and insightful. I think my major takeaway is that taking care of oneself does not only help you, but also your workplace. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're also not going to be productive in your workplace, which is a tragedy. So thank you so much for that insight. It's definitely very helpful. I hope that we are all taking down notes and questions. We're going to have a Q&A session after our next facilitator. And during that session, you can either use the chat box or you can ask to unmute, and then you can speak up, direct your question to any facilitator of your choice, or leave it open, but you let us know so that they can be able to address it. Those of you that have just joined us, you are most welcome. Thank you so much for setting time to be part of this session. It's definitely very helpful. And today we are speaking about how one can strike a balance between well-being and also being productive in their career or whichever path they have chosen, but mostly within the workforce. So at this juncture, it is my privilege to invite our next facilitator of the day for today's session, Mr. Kanari Mugume. He is a senior investigative journalist and also a news anchor at NPS, and he's also going to be giving us insight into today's topic. This, for those that have just joined us, this is the Future of Work series under the Career Essentials program, and it is organized by Bakash Media Foundation in collaboration with the Innovation Village. The sessions are weekly, and we will be sharing links. We also have a WhatsApp group for those that would like to be part of our community. Isaac, please do well to share the link to that WhatsApp group on the chat so that those who are interested can join. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Kanari Mugume over to you. Thank you.
Good morning. Is my audio clear?
Yes, please. We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. My name is Kanari Mugume. I'm a journalist with NBS Television, where I'm a reporter there. I also anchor news there, primetime news at 9 p.m. I host a radio show, Next Radio, called The Big Talk. and I'm also a current affairs producer, study at Next Media. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and many other things. Thanks for having me here. I think I don't have much to say. Primrose said everything. Maybe I'll just take questions. So I'll speak about 4 things. One is my own experience, the changing world of work. My own experience is working in a newsroom is extremely stressful and intense, but it's also extremely dynamic because what we used to do, for example, last year, we are doing completely something different while maintaining the basics of journalism. So sometimes you have to be able to adapt quickly. You have to be able to refocus your mind and be able to jump onto the wagon, or else you can be left behind. For some of you who have read the book Who Moved the Cheese, it talks about how things change and some people choose to focus on why things are changing, while others choose to jump onto whatever has changed. So things change. We're in a very extremely dynamic world, and it's not just a newsroom, but everywhere everyone works, it's changing, but it's also extremely busy. So it can be extremely stressful. It can be mind draining and boggling. It can be mentally draining. We've also had, of course, interruptions from the digital world, having to digitalize our kind of work, having to be able to, for example, adapt to things like AI, having be able to even understand how we can infuse technology to ease our work. And that has also sort of interrupted the way we used to do things in the past. So because of all these things that we have to wake up every day, face on a daily basis, you find that some people are not moving on the same pace with you, and it can be just extremely disturbing, right? You have a lot of work that is piled up, you have targets, you have KPIs to meet and everything. So it can be extremely stressful and mind draining. So that's the changing world of work in many spheres. So my own experience, I've had to, for example, for the last 10 years that I've done journalism, I've had to, for example, be compelled to tell stories about individuals, about institutions, and sometimes those stories will haunt you back. They will look for you. Sometimes it's not even about that the story you told was bad, but just that you exposed something and you brought it to light, and that because you, much as you might think about yourself as someone who's delivering a service, but in one way or another, you are destabilizing an institution, you're destabilizing an individual, you're destabilizing a career. I know many jobs have been lost because of the stories we've been able to tell. As much as we get fulfillment from such things because we tell stories to create impact and change, as much as we get fulfillment from such things, at the end of the day, when you sit back and the day is done, someone tells you a story of how, for example, your story was able to change something positively in one way and negatively in another way. All these things come back to us. But also, in our experience as journalists, I can only talk for me. I don't know what happens in other work spheres. In our experience as journalists, the kind of things that we cover, like riots, protests, elections, have been in the middle of a battle of 2 countries. When I went to Ukraine, I have covered stories that are extremely painful, stories of the genocide, stories of war, stories of death, and stories of injustice. All these things at the end of the day come back to you, and the mind get extremely exhausted, and we've not had really chances to protect our minds. We've not had chances to even protect our bodies from the stress that results from all these things that we do. So that is my own experience. Number two, the second thing I want to talk about is what we call self-care. So there's a scholar who wrote a book. It's called Eric Erikson. Eric Erikson talks about three things. Talks about the balance between work, love, and play. To have a healthy inner balance. So Eric Erikson talks about the balance between work, love, and play, and poses a question, do you have a healthy inner balance? Because he just tries to talk about how the richest and fullest lives attempts to achieve an inner balance between the three realms, that is work, love, and play. So work is the kind of things that we wake up to do on a daily. If you have an 8 to 9, I don't have a normal 8 to 9. I wake up very early in the morning, maybe at 5, but I don't have a normal 8 to 9, 8 to 5, sorry. I finish my work at 10 p.m. But that is work. Whatever wakes you up to earn a living, that is work. Love is could be your family, like I have a wife and a child, but also my other family, my mother, my siblings, and my friends. So that's love, the way you could define it. And play is what you find pleasure in. It could be a sport, like going to gym, playing tennis, playing football. I know Isaac likes playing football in the evenings. So how do you find an inner balance between the three of those? And he says that every day we should wake up to aspire, no matter how much time you dedicate to whatever, you should fall in those three realms. So for you to have a very rich and fulfilling life, because he says the richest and fullest lives attempts to achieve an inner balance between those three realms, work, love, and play. So how do we make sure that that's also one of the self-care strategies? How do you make sure that you achieve an inner balance between all those? Do you allocate time? I wake up every day to achieve that balance, but I can tell you for the last 29 years, I've not really, I would say for the last 10 years, okay, I've professionally worked in journalism. I've not gotten that balance, but I wake up every day to strive to get that balance. And for me, as much as it's not, maybe in the coming 5 or 10 years, I'll get that balance, but at least I try to attempt to work towards that. And goes ahead to also describe the different stages you can be able, so it goes more beyond just allocating time. So for example, in the morning, I'm going to wake up, for me, I take so many things very personal. For example, the first thing I do, not touch my phone. I used to really, long time ago when I was still a young journalist, what did I miss when I was asleep? What could have happened in the night that I could have missed, because I need to be on top of my game as a journalist. I need to understand what's going on in the world, in the country, in the middle of the night. And I just thought I should be the first to know when I wake up. But that sort of started breeding a very addictive, but also I think dangerous journalist that I was, that without even having breakfast, I need to know what's happening in the world. Whether you know or not, the world will actually move on. So I discovered that could be dangerous, and slowly by slowly started moving away from it. So the first thing I do is first care about myself. How do I feel? Did I sleep well? Can I have some water? Can I check on my loved ones? And then I can look at the phone maybe after breakfast, and then I can drive to work. So it might look like as a very simple step, but it's actually a strategy that could improve your inner being. Number three, still on self-care, you don't have to look like what you're going through. For you, they know that every time you're stressed, this is how you're going to look like. You're always shabby just because you left home stressed and everything. Everyone doesn't need to know what you're going through. I don't think that if anything happened to you, Natasha, of all the people here, more than 50 of them, I don't know how many would reach out to say, oh, by the way, so about what going through, is there anything I can do to help? Or of all your friends on your WhatsApp that you last chat with for the last, since 6 a.m. when you woke up, I don't know how many would reach out and say, is there anything I can do to help? So you don't have to look like what you're going through. I'm not saying you put up a fake whatever, but if you're going through something, just show up, smile, and just devise strategies on what you can do to change whatever you're going through. So you don't have just dress up, look neat, look nice, smell nice. Just show up, because you might miss an opportunity because you just look shabby. You look like you're just going through a lot. You're always absent-minded. That will happen. I'm not saying you should fake it, but I'm saying at least make an attempt not to show everyone what you're going through. So whatever it is, if you want to share it with a couple of people, your boss or whatever it is, just, and Prim talked about it, talks about if you're not feeling, I meet people here at work and they say, they have cannulas on their hands. I usually ask, the first thing I ask is, why are you at work? You think work will not move on? You think the job will not move on, or the company will not move on just because you are away? And I used to, for example, like work Monday to Sunday when I just joined journalism professionally. And it's as if like I wanted to be on top of each and every story. But years down the road, you realize, for example, you can delegate. It's okay to ask for a sick leave. It's okay to say, can I be off for the rest of the afternoon? I don't feel well. Small things that we think are unachievable or might not make a big difference, but they actually do. So don't look like what you're going through. Number 4 on this second point of mine of self-care is, can we try and understand what is important for us before anything else? When we are in an aircraft, and they're giving safety precautions, they say even if you have a child, the first thing you're supposed to do, if anything happens, is put your oxygen mask on before you help anyone. Just imagine you have a 1-year-old child. The first thing you do as a safety precaution before you even help your child is first put on yours the oxygen mask. So it applies in every life sphere that we choose to live. Do you understand what is important for you? Do you understand what, for example, is priority for you before you first go to care about the others? Because if you do, and if you're able to understand yourself, then it becomes even more important when you're going to help others. It means that you understand, probably you have an idea of what they're going through. But if you don't understand yourself, there's no way you're going to extend an arm or help someone else. So I've talked about my own experience. I've talked about self-care. I'm going to talk about number 3, which is, can you make your life count? One of the things that at least gets me going is, so when I wake up, I make my to-do list. I have my notebook every single day, even when I'm going to sleep in the night. And I remember something I'm supposed to do in the morning. I note it here. Why? Because when I wake up, what am I going to do? What did I, okay, I have something in mind. It's blurry perhaps, but where am I going to start from? So I work with my to-do list, even if it's on phone or whatever. I know in the morning, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So as soon as I'm done with my task number 1, I go to task number 2, I go to task number 3 until the rest. So when other things come up within the day, I'm able to at least know that this was priority for me, because that's how I make my day count. And combined all together throughout the whole year, that's how I make my life count. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. If there's anything that's been bothering me, how do I note it down, create strategies for it, and then make it priority the following day? That's making my life count. But also, I talked about self-awareness. There's a book I read. It says, "What got you here won't get you there." Just read it recently in one of our mentorship classes, and it just stipulates that whatever habits you've acquired over time and have contributed to your success and you are where you are right now, you perhaps need to revise those and see what's going to elevate you to the next step. Because there's going to be stress, there's going to be a lot of challenges at work, there's going to be a lot of things that are surrounding you, pull and push factors. But remember that what got you here at this stage might not probably get you to the next stage. What are those new habits perhaps you need to learn? What are those habits you need to unlearn? What are those things that you need to do to make sure you get to the next level? Because, for example, I drove here and parked down in the parking, but when I was going up on the floor that I'm on, I used an elevator. It means that getting to where I'm sitting right now, what drove me here did not exactly take me up to the level I'm seated on second level of this building. So how do we make sure that some of the habits, we are self-aware, some of the habits that put us here, how do we make sure if they're not working for us, how do we undo them or unlearn them? How do we learn new habits? How do we make sure that we are self-aware of, for example, things going on around us, and we are able to understand what exactly is important for us to go to the next step? That's also a very, very important factor of self-care, because if you're not aware of those things, for example, simple things like feedback. How do you take in feedback? How do you give feedback? Simple things like communication. How do you learn to listen more other than speak more? Listen more, you learn more. How do you, for example, able to work in teams or with other teammates, be able to achieve what you want? How are you able to build relationships at work, relationships in the field that you're working in, to be able to push your career upwards. And then lastly, we talk about the mental health, body, and the soul. Soul, Primrose, I think, elaborated about it. There's all of us believe in a supreme being, and that belief gives us hope, and hope is such a powerful tool that keeps us moving. So how do you treat your soul? Are you all of a sudden the person that is always pessimistic? You don't have hope. You're just there. That leaves you a very, very empty human being. So how do we treat our soul? How we treat our soul exactly determines how we treat our mental health and the body. All those three are different things. As for the body, when I want to reset my body, I do like intermediate fasting and like take off time, leave some foods, just to like cleanse my body. Might not be like cleansing my body from, for example, from the bad foods I've been eating, but cleansing it just to feel better. I can spend a whole like 3 months eating just like green food, fruit, and just taking water. I move with water all the time. Every time I feel, for example, like the body is exhausted, I just say, okay, I might not be able to run every day. I might not be able to get the time to go to the gym. I might not be able to do all these other things. But how do I treat it, for example, with like proper food and stuff like that? And every time I do it, this is what works for me. You need to find out what works for you. And every time I do it, I feel like I have like the best intoxication, detoxification rather, whatever the word is. I have the best detox ever. I just know this food, for example, it's not, I'm not going to, for example, do sugar and milk and meat for like the next 3 months. Just do like green foods and veggies and water, and I feel better. If, for example, a massage is not going to make me feel good, or it's not going to put out all the stress that I have accumulated over the last quarter. So that works for me. Mental, I take my rest very, very seriously. I usually tell people that some days you just can't, for example, set up a meeting and I'm available, like on a Sunday. Just take my Sundays very seriously unless there's something serious. I take my rest very seriously because I think over time, when you learn that you can be able to achieve things, be able to do quality work in a very short period of time, you don't have to work long hours, then you realize that you can actually work smart and work harder. Working harder could also mean that you're able to achieve tasks of a month in just 2 weeks, and then use the other 2 weeks to do either something else that makes you feel happy, or you're able to give it to rest. So you divide it. How do you divide your time to be able to get enough rest? For me, rest is very important because I'm not a scientist, but at least I know that every time you rest, your body, you're re-engineering your body, and it's like rejuvenation. It's like when you don't get enough rest throughout the night and you sleep late and wake up so early, you might have the energy to run your morning, but in the afternoon, you'll be a bit in a dozing state. So, but every time you, for example, do like 8 hours of sleep, you wake up, you're feeling fresh, and you're ready to kick the day and attack it. So, how are you able to do that frequently over the whole week, over the whole month? You feel like you need to rest your brain. Every time I want to, part of like how I train my mental health, every time I want to work on, for example, like a long document, if I go home and I don't feel like I feel exhausted, I would rather not force it. I would rather take my sleep, even if it's just 4 hours, wake up in the middle of the night, maybe at the mind and the brain will have sort of gotten enough rest to be able to function again afresh. So yeah, those are the 4 things I thought I should share. My own experience, self-care, how do you make your life count? And then lastly, mental, body, and soul care. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Canary. That has been definitely very insightful. My major highlight being find an inner balance between work, love, and play. Thank you so much. Those have been very, very insightful nuggets. So we are now in our Q&A session. So if you have a question for any of our facilitators, please raise your hand. We will send you a request to unmute. You will unmute your mic and speak up. Kindly make your questions precise and straight to the point. We want to make it easy for our facilitators because we would like them to take in all the questions at once and then answer them at once. So Canary and Primrose, I'm going to kindly request you to take note of the questions. I'll also be helping you to take note of the ones on the chat, and then we can address them at once. If you feel like there are very many and we can first take a break and first handle those, you can also let me know, and then we shall take them maybe in 2 batches to make it easy. So dear participants, please raise your hand. We shall send you a request to unmute. You can also use the chat. If you have a question and you're not comfortable speaking, you can leave it on the chat box and I'll be able to pass it on to our facilitators. All right. Okay. I see Patience, your hand is up. Gerald, Patience, over to you.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Patience Oshimelire. I'm a health worker at Jinja Regional Referral Hospital. And my question goes out to Mr. Canary Mukume. So this month, there is a health campaign, Her Voice, Her Health, which addresses the mental health challenges among mothers, including those in workplaces. So you introduce yourself as a husband and a father, meaning you have a wife who has given birth and you've experienced what it's like for a working mother to give birth. So what do you think can be done different in the formal sector to help ease the mental health of the new mothers in workplaces? If you're looking at postpartum depression, anxiety, stress, and all the new changes that come with being a mother and still a working mother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Joyce Bahati.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. My question is generally around being an early career professional and how we're prioritizing self-care. For both Prim and Mr. Canary Mugume, I'm wondering how would you advise someone to prioritize self-care, especially as an early career professional, where I think people usually have different challenges, where maybe it's a challenge of time, but you cannot probably balance it out with, say, someone who has to beat traffic to work via public means versus maybe someone who can drive, and maybe you want to prioritize exercising, for example. I feel like most of the times we tell ourselves that I can put myself on the back burner for now, and then later on when I have a better opportunity to take care of myself, then I will do that. So I am guessing that you do have some kind of experience with dealing with this, and how would you go around it?
Okay, thank you so much, Joyce.
Joyce, you are breaking. I didn't get the question quite clear. Sorry. I don't know. I think it's my internet connection or something. Sorry, I didn't get it clear.
I'll text it in the chat.
All right. She's going to leave it on the chat and then I'll be able to read it out to you. Okay. Patience, could you kindly put down your hand? If you've already asked a question, please put your hand down so that we can know the new hands that are coming in. Gerald Mayanja, please.
Thank you so much, Natasha. My question goes to both panelists, Canary and Prim. With the many benefits, that come with self-care for career success, I'm curious to know how your workplaces are creating an environment that fosters this self-care, but also how can employers try to create, or what are some of the things that you wish employers knew when it comes to this kind of environment, or creating a situation that favors self-care for employees? Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. Canary and Prim, was that clear or do you want him to repeat it?
It was clear. What I didn't get well is Joyce's.
Okay. Joyce, we're still waiting for you to put your question in the chat so that we can read it to our facilitators. Thank you, Gerald. Hannah Teresa, over to you, please.
Thank you so much. This has really been a wonderful session. My question goes out to Prim. She talked about one of the major factors that cause stress being the environment, the workplace. And she mentioned that sometimes if you don't need your workmates to be your friend, you can choose to let it be like that. But then there's the times when there's, can I call it workplace drama, and somehow you get to be involved. How do you deal with such situations? Do you just ignore? Do you just move on and let it be? How do you deal with workplace drama? Because it can be a major stress factor, and maybe make you hate what you're doing, and yeah, all that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Hannah's question went to Prim and it was about friendship in the workplace. I hope that was clear. If it wasn't, you can let us know. Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Namubiru Patricia, yes, please. Gerald, kindly put your hand down. I think you had already asked your question so that we can see which hands are new. Thank you very much. Let's have Patricia and then we'll have Naeva and Dominic. Patricia, please unmute your mic and speak. Okay, let's have Dominic in the meantime while Patricia fixes her mic.
Hello there. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and more or less meet new people digitally. You get much appreciated to the organizers and everything. Long story short, my question is basically, generally, you get whoever can answer it, it will be okay. Now, in a situation of, say, an entrepreneur, you get something like that calls a briefcase company, where you're a one-person army. You get you're writing the software, you're writing the code, you're writing the proposals, you're doing the marketing, you're one person. In that situation, I want to know how mental health fits in. You get, because I guess possibly I'm trying to ask for a way, possibly to find a way for my own self to sort or create a section of mental self-awareness. You get, but well, that is just my question. Thank you very much, and yeah.
Okay, was that question clear? Mental health for entrepreneurs. Namubiru Patricia, are you able to speak? Okay. Sina Maviro has put down her hand. Maybe she has changed her mind. So Joyce's question is on the chat. She's asking, how did you navigate prioritizing self-care as an early career professional within time and financial restrictions? I think that's it for the questions for now. So we can have Canary first, since he had more questions, I guess. And then we'll have Prim. You can also feel free to add on to the questions that were addressed to Canary as well, if you have something you would like to add. Over to you, Canary, please.
Thank you very much. I'll begin with patiences. Talks about new mothers and how workspaces should be able to support, especially knowing that there is postpartum depression. And yeah, honestly, not all workspaces are built to support that. But I think the best thing we can do, I'll tell you for a fact here, at Next Media, we have a whole room for resting. In case you feel like you are overwhelmed, we have a whole big space for meditation and stuff like that. But because it's a new building, not really older than 4 years, so it was built with that in mind. It was part of the plan. But I understand that not all workspaces are able to, for example, provide that. We also have room in case you want to come with your child and your nanny to be able to take care of the child and maybe breastfeed and stuff like that. But I understand that not all workspaces are built like that. May not be able to have that space given the current state of affairs in the country. Restrictions in space, restrictions in even creating such things. But there are a few things that we can do. As for men, I think for me, what I have been vocal about is that if you are a husband or a baby daddy, a brother, in any case, whichever position you're in, but you know that someone very close to you has given birth, someone you're related to, or the baby is yours, the least you can do is provide support to them in whichever way. And they most probably will not know what kind of support they'll need. But for me, simple things as like waking up in the middle of the night to carry the baby if it's crying and stuff like that, they take off, or they give, for example, the new mother time to sleep because they've been with the baby the whole day and probably haven't gotten any time to rest. Just taking off your 2 hours. Just imagine you're writing a project proposal and you're going to sleep at 3 a.m. Just imagine something has come up, you're in the middle of the night, maybe driving back home from a long journey and you have to spend 2 hours on the road. So just imagine that it's the same. So taking off such time to support new mothers is extremely important. One, you're giving them enough time to rest and take off time of taking care of the baby. But also you have no idea how much contribution you're making to their mental health, and they're conscious for it to be clear, because it can really be extremely stressful. For workplaces, I think that it's important, and for me, I've been vocal about it. If we can all advocate for it, if, for example, your work is flexible and you're able to work from home, why do you need to come and clock in at 8? And leave at 5? Should we all always come and clock in at 8 and leave at 5? If you're able to get internet and work from home, do I really need to come to work every day? That's a conversation that employers need to hear. That's a conversation that they need to have with each other, because I know after maternity leave, it's as if everything else has stopped. It's as if all of a sudden a baby is old and no longer disturbing and stuff like that. But the baby needs time up to, I mean, from my own experience, my baby is almost 1.5, but I tell you, up to now, we still take off time to make sure they're given as much attention in terms of like feeding and stuff like that, which cannot be done necessarily at work. And we know for you to get even like a best person to take care of your child can be really hard. It's a blessing if you get one. So workplaces, employers should have that conversation, and they need to hear it. But they cannot hear it if we don't talk about it, if we don't tweet about it, if we don't create and host conversations about it. It might take long to be enforced, for example, within the law. For example, maternity leave and paternity leave are all in the law for all labor. But if we continue having these conversations, maybe something will change. So they need to be empathetic to know that, for example, mothers need more time for themselves and for their newly born babies. And as men, if we can give as much support as we can to the people who have given birth, the new mothers, to our wives, to our baby mummies and sisters, it will be very, very important and will have saved them such a great deal. So I've talked about one, the role we can play as us, but two, why it's important for employers to be empathetic. I've had that experience firsthand. I've seen it, and all of a sudden, after like what, 1 or 2 months, someone is back at work. You're not okay. You're not going to give it your 100. So if it is possible, you can do your work from home, maybe twice a week. So be it. Ask your employer. I'm sure they will understand because they are also parents. Patience, I hope I answered your question. Number two, Joyce, you are asking, well, honestly, there are a few things you can do, but I'm going to be harsh at the very end. So creating social connections, knowing that you are a young career professional and you are rushing to beat time, but also you have financial constraints, you have to take public transport. You can create social connections and nurture relationships with your peers. Just create like a support group to know that you're not going through this alone. You can join networks or clubs that expand your social circle so that your mind is not really about waking up very early in the morning at 5:30, go to catch a taxi. Your mind is not fixated on leaving home to go to work and going back and making a living and whether you have money for dinner or not, so that your mind is not fixated on that. Because once your mind is preoccupied with that, then it becomes very difficult for you to even focus on your work. But once you create or join different networks, connect with your peers, and yeah, but you can also do like low cost workouts and stuff like that. But why I said I'm going to be harsh at the end is I'm sorry, but you need to put in the hours if you are a young career professional, and there's no way around it. I'm sorry, but there's no way around it. You need to work your ass off. I remember joining and I do not regret it. Now I know that it is important. As long as you know that no situation is going to be permanent. I would wake up. I had to wake up like at 5 in the morning, go to work. I'm at work by 6 because I was just only training. I'm not going to any journalism school. I needed to learn everything that there was in a newsroom. So I'd work and be around people who are doing stuff until 10 p.m. 10 p.m. I go back home. It's 11 p.m. I have to do a few things. Perhaps that's the only time I have to wash my clothes or stuff like that, and then sleep maybe at like 1 or 2 a.m. At 5, I have to be awake. I did that for 3 consecutive years, and I was working Monday to Sunday. Because you're the young guy in the newsroom, you're the newbie, you'll be the one they'll be sending to this, do that. And because I was eager to learn and I knew what I wanted, I put in the hours. So I'm sorry. You need to prioritize, I think, learning first. I'm not saying you shouldn't prioritize mental health. You can, whilst you're learning, at the back of your mind, knowing that I'm doing this, but I don't think it's going to be permanent. And I can tell you for sure, this is a testimony. Once you put in the hours, there's no way those hours are not going to pay back. They're definitely going to pay back. I learned everything that I could. As I began with my intro that I do reporting, I do anchoring, I do radio show hosting, and I do producing. But at times I'm sent like out of the country for an assignment, and I don't have someone on camera, and I do it myself, and I do the editing myself, and I do the production myself. Why? Because I put in the hours to learn all these things. So if, for example, I'm ever given an assignment, I do not regret the hours I put in because they were worth it. So I'm sorry, but you need to work your ass off and put in the hours. At the end of the day, what will give you, for example, relief, which is self-awareness, is no situation is permanent, that those hours will pay off as long as you're doing the right thing. Number 3, Jared. Jared, I'll answer you the same way I answered Patience. Thing is at workplaces, we need to start having those conversations. How did we survive in COVID? How come that we're all able to work from home? Did we die? They put clocking systems that you have to be here at 8 and leave at 5. But if I finish work at 2 p.m. and I'm able to explain to my supervisor that my work is done, why do I need to be at work until 5? What am I doing? And probably once you pass by my desk, you'll see me as if I'm going through my email. Once you go and sit on your desk as your supervisor, I'll go back to watching a Netflix movie. So why are we wasting time? Why can't I use that time to do something else? Why do I need to wait for 5 p.m. to clock out? Those are the things that, I don't know, they just look so colonial. It's as if we adopted them from somewhere else and we want to apply them to each and every work situation that we're going through, which might not necessarily be the case. So if you're able to work from home and you're able to explain to supervisor, as long as you can deliver, but we did deliver for 2 years during COVID. Why? What makes us think that we cannot deliver? So for me, sometimes I report to work maybe in later hours, not necessarily in the morning, but even in the mornings, I'm like, so how is the news this evening looking like? Who do you think we can reach out to? What's missing? I'm on phone, but there's a contribution I'm making. I know by the time I get to go through, for example, the stories of the day, I know what could have been missing. By like 4 p.m., I know who do I call, what interviews do we need in the studios and stuff like that. Or what do I need to prepare for my radio show? What guests do we need? Or I'm producing a talk show. What sort of research does my host need? So I'm a producer and I have a host. What sort of research does my host need? Can I make a phone call to someone, maybe an expert on economics, and they tell me something that I could include into my questions that I'll give to my host and stuff like that? Do I need to be in office for me to do that? No, absolutely not. I'm not like Prim was to maybe be in office to watch planes fly. I don't know what she does at the airport, but most probably the jobs, what I'm saying here is that they might not be necessarily the same. But if we're able to, for example, execute duties without necessarily having to be seen in front of the supervisor like we're executing, then let be it. I'm sure when Prim is taking off time to create digital content, she's prioritizing her sort of plans and divides her time. So should everyone. I didn't get Dominic's question quite well. Natasha, do you still remember it? Because that's the last one.
No. Dominic, can you repeat your question, please?
Well, long story short, what I was trying to say, I guess, is understanding possibly this contradictory advice whereby one person is all like zero down, tunnel through, you understand, leave the rest to the words and just look at the endpoints. That does not consider mental health. And then on another end, you have like in this situation, we are talking about mental health. So how is a person like me, who is a briefcase company, you get juggling a lot of stuff, supposed to choose which direction? You get, do I choose tunnel down or do I choose self-care? You get, I hope my question makes sense.
Well, I think your question, is about entrepreneurship. If I try to understand entrepreneurship, I think you're trying to grow your business. It's still small, but I think scalable. How do you prioritize mental health? I think that's the question.
Yes.
Despite the challenges of entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
Okay. So there are few, what I would call hacks on how, and one thing is I talked about them, regardless of whether you are small, like a briefcase company, you call it, in terms of scalability, you're still small and you're growing. A few things. One, self-awareness, recognize the signs of mental health struggle. There's going to be a lot of applications you're going to make for money to come in, or for grants, or for support and resources. They're not going to be positive at all times. You might make 100 and only 2 go through, but still need more resources. So you need to be self-aware in terms of the signs for mental health struggles. You're going to face a lot of anxiety. You're going to face a lot of depression and burnout because you're still small and you want to grow. You're probably working 18 hours a day and you're having little sleep. One thing you should do is don't hesitate to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. And I don't know anyone who has grown in their career or entrepreneurship journey without asking for help. Just ask for help. Just reach out. I always tell myself, before I do something, if I reach out, what's the worst thing that can happen? Are they going to shoot me because I've asked for help? Obviously not. Number 2, you gotta learn to prioritize sleep. I don't think working hard means working 17 hours a day and you're leaving yourself with 3 hours to rest. The next day, your brain will not be working as it was yesterday because it's tired. Just prioritize sleep. Number 3, set boundaries. Whether you're small or not, whether you want to put in the hours, just prioritize and set boundaries. Because if you want to establish a healthy work-life balance, which is a topic for today, to remember very, very well, work-life balance and self-care strategies, you need to set clear boundaries between, and if you do that really from the start, by the time you grow and scale into a bigger business, you realize how important that was. So you need to set clear boundaries between your personal life and your professional life. Don't become exactly your entrepreneurship journey. There should be a distinction. And then lastly, create a support network or join one. Surround yourself with a support community. Me growing up in this career, I knew I could talk to so and so, at least a couple of people, 5. If I ever got an interview, who are the first people I'm going to reach out and say, hey, I've gotten this big interview. How do you think it should go? For me, such things were very important in my career. How do you surround yourself with a supportive community that includes friends and family? After one of my biggest investigation story, I'd call my mother who has been watching and say, what did you think? Then she would tell me, things like mothers would say, be careful and stuff like that. But for me, that means that it was gripping and created fear and most probably will create impact. So how do you surround yourself with a support network from friends to family to even the people at work, the people you work with, or even the people in the same field? Yeah, those are the 4 things I can say to you in the journey of entrepreneurship. Self-awareness, recognize the signs of mental health struggles. You face a lot of anxiety and depression and burnout. Set boundaries. It has to be a clear distinction between your personal and professional life. Number 3, prioritize sleep. You don't have to show up at work with red eyes every day just because you didn't sleep well. And then lastly, make sure that you create a support network from friends, family, people at work, and the people that you're in the same field with. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, Canary. Thank you for addressing all our questions. Put in the work and ask for help. I think for me, that has been my major highlight. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if Prim is still with us on the call. If you are, kindly address the questions that you have.
Hi, Natasha, could I get the questions again? Sorry.
Okay, no worries. If you had I think Hannah Teresa was one of them. Could you kindly repeat your question, please? And if you had a question that was dedicated to Prim, kindly unmute and speak up so that we can address those.
Hello, Prim.
Hello.
My question majorly on how to deal with workplace drama. In case these people, you're not friendly connections with them, do you just ignore? Do you just move on? And if you're to have any friends, how do you treat that friendship? Yeah, so centered around that. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that when it comes to friendships at workplaces, you can decide the pace that you want them to go. You can, that's really up to you. You'll be very shocked to know how many things are within our control. It feels like we keep waiting for someone to give us permission to behave a certain way or to do certain things. It's how you keep waiting for someone to allow you to go and live your life. We live our lives in fear that or what will people say? And then you realize that you have the permission for almost every decision that concerns your life. So you have the permission to let people into your life, your workmates as friends, or to not let them into, so you can control the pace these friendships go. So as far as work conflicts are concerned, one thing that I've learned in like all forms of relationships, like all relationships, is communication. And this is something that I just had to learn recently. Like initially I would tell myself, just keep quiet, it will die down. And I have a friend who used to tell me, I have a work friend who used to tell me, you know, just go and confront this person, but I'm not a confrontational person. So one day, I realized, because now that I am a leader where I work, I couldn't just like let things just keep going, right? So I realized that I could have conversations with people. So one day I called someone, told them to sit in office, and I asked them, well, do we have anything going on? Is there any problem? No. Are you sure there's no problem? No. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to assume that you're now going to hold your peace, because I wanted us to discuss any problems, any conflicts that we might have, according to what I've been hearing. So it's just like, oh, there's nothing. And I'm like, okay, so if there's nothing, I don't expect to keep hearing this being repeated again. And they're like, I count on you to come to me any other time that you think we might be in conflict. And they said, yes. So I remember when they got out, even I was surprised, like, okay, that went well. I didn't expect it to go like that. So I've now realized that communication is something that really, really helps out, like talking to people, just outrightly saying, putting someone aside, not in the heat of anger, when anger has subsided, everything has gone off, you know, you put so and so, and they're like, oh, I didn't appreciate how, you know, you spoke to me earlier in the meeting. I'm thinking that there could be a better way that you could have phrased this statement, or you could have said this. I appreciate your correction, but if you had done it more privately, I think I would have appreciated that, because you'll be very shocked at how human beings conceive things. Sometimes you'll be assuming that someone probably hates you because you keep getting certain connotations from, you know, how they put things, and yet they don't realize that they are actually offending you. So communication, like in every other relationship, is equally important in workspaces. And I feel like as Ugandans, as a people, we play nice too much. We play nice. We want to be very nice. And you see, we want to be very coy. We want to, we think that it's being humble, but most times we are just being timid. You get like, speak up. No one is going to beat you. I want you to imagine that you're an adult. No one is going to put you down and beat you. No one is going to pain you. And what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that this person refuses to comprehend what you're saying. And that's okay. At least you have put out your message. You have laid your boundaries. Now they will know not to treat you a certain way. Workspaces are very volatile places, right? And people treat you like you treat them too. Like you teach people how to treat you. That's the one thing I've understood about workspaces. You'll find a group of colleagues that are comfortable saying certain statements to one another. You'll be in certain workspaces where people are vulgar to one another, but there's someone that they will never be vulgar to. And yet they are equals, they're in the same department, but they never, because that person has taught them that, look, good for you and your friendship and the things you say to each other, but you cannot cross that line with me. So you teach these people how to treat you from the get-go. So as you join workspaces, as you operate in workspaces, I want you to know that how you relate with someone. If you are touchy-feely with someone, you like they'll comfortably come and try to grab your butt or something. So I've noticed that when you are in these spaces, you have to like really put your boundaries very, very, very clearly and very thick so that everyone knows that this is what she doesn't like, this is what she likes. At the end of the day, let's just all be cordial with one another and then go home. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prem, for that. Any other questions before we move on to the next segment? Anyone else has anything that they would like them to address before we move on to the next segment? Thank you. All right, looks like there is none. Thank you so much for those insights. So we're going to move on to the next segment, which is the poll segment. So here we'll just like to gather some feedback on how this session has been, and also for purposes of curating more sessions that are relevant to you. So I've launched it. If you look at your screen right now, you see a poll that has popped up with some questions. So you can just quickly read through and select your choice, and then it will be able to take record of that. We'll just spend about 2 or 3 minutes on this, and then we'll take a group photo, and later we can close. Please don't leave us yet. I would like to take a group photo with you shortly after this. Just for those that joined us late, this is the Future of Work series that is organized by Bakash Media Foundation in collaboration with the Innovation Village under their program that is called the Career Essentials Program. And we mostly target young people that are launching themselves into the workforce or starting out in their careers, just to give them some sort of direction, for them to hear from people who have been there longer and see what they're doing and get some strategies on how they can be the best versions of themselves in the workforce. So if you'd like to be part of this community, please let us know. Isaac should be able to share a link for the WhatsApp community on the chat so that those who want are able to join, and then you can get more information there and the weekly links for the sessions that we'll be having. I see Gerald's hand is up. Gerald, do you have another question?
Not really. Not really a question. I just wanted to know whether the question in the chat was addressed from Denise. It was, how can one fight off being comfortable at a job, mostly a first job? It was a question to Canary. I don't know whether it was addressed.
Oh yeah, hi Denise. I get it, and I think I also suffered the same at some point. It wasn't my first job though. I've done a million other jobs before that, but I think getting comfortable is created by having the same routine. The routine you become like automatic, like wake up, go to work, do this, go home, and become so comfortable because it's a routine, right? But are you able to, for example, create new challenges for yourself at work? One of the things that I think I was able to do when I faced that, it's about just before COVID. What I did is try to move into like other departments and like try to learn their kind of work. What are they doing? For example, go to like marketing here and understand like how can I be like part of like what you do? I don't have to necessarily be paid for it, but if I'm learning something, for example, how you're able to execute like tasks on the marketing side, I'd love to learn that. And I started creating like new challenges. I would see, for example, what are other people in the newsroom, for example, outside Uganda doing? How are they telling stories? Am I up to the task? Am I doing exactly that? Because I reached a point and I felt like you wake up, pitch a story, go to the field, come back, file it, go home, and created like sort of a routine. So I just started looking like, how do I tell stories differently? How do I capture different audiences? If I've been telling a lot of political stories, how do I, for example, move into fields like environment, health? I started telling stories about human trafficking. So I started like in my mind creating new challenges for myself, because I would wake up now. Since it was your first job, before you got comfortable, you were always looking forward to it, because there was always like a new task to learn and to execute and stuff like that. And once you did all that, then it ceased perhaps becoming interesting, and you just wake up just to do exactly that. So it's something actually I had sent you in your direct messages. I was asking, are you able to create new tasks for yourself? Is it possible that you actually create new tasks for yourself? What are other people? That's why there are associations. For example, here at Next Media, we just signed an MOU with the Association of Human Resource Managers in Uganda, is to share experiences. What sort of job are you doing? Are you able to connect with other peers or other people in the same field from other jobs? I know, for example, like us journalists, we have an association. When I go to visit, for example, when I visit Kenya, I go and like make tours around like NTV Kenya, Citizen, KTN, and stuff like that. How are their newsrooms operating? Every time I come back here, I have like a new perspective of how newsrooms look like. So, are you able to connect with other people in the same field and learn or exchange ideas, share, but also find even opportunities for collaboration?
All right. Thank you so much, Canary. Thank you. Yeah. Let me finish up. Okay, thank you so much, Canary. Thank you so much, Prim. I think all the questions have been addressed, and thank you also for the feedback, our dear participants, that you've given us on the call. We are coming to a conclusion of this session. Again, I will ask for this recording to be shared. This session has been recorded for those who are not able to join us on time. We will share with you the recording of this session. Also, the link for the WhatsApp community has been shared on the chat. So kindly feel free to click that link and join our community if you would like to be constantly updated about our upcoming sessions. We're now going to take a group photo. But before that, I would like our lovely facilitators to give us a parting shots in 1 or 2 minutes, and then we will close the session with a group photo. Over to you, Prem.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and thank you so much to Bakash Media for having such sessions, such platforms. Like I said, I wish we had them, but it's not too late. It's not late because, well, here they are. So I'm hoping that they are impacting each and every one that signs into such meetings, the people that are on the group. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
And thank you so much for your time as well. We really, really appreciate you sparing time to give us this valuable information. Thank you. You're much appreciated. Over to you, Canary.
Thank you for having me, the Bakash Media Foundation, and it's always a pleasure every time I get a chance to share. I just wanted to say that I'm available. You can reach out to me through my social media handles at Canary Mugume everywhere. In case you need any support, any help, I would gladly do it.
Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate and your time as well. All right, so we're going to take a quick group photo. Those who are able to turn your cameras on, kindly do so just for a second so that you can take a photo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Turn on your camera and smile. Smile. I'll let you know once the photo has been taken. Still waiting for like 3 or more cameras. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to see all your faces. Okay. Done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, our dear facilitators, those who have joined the WhatsApp group. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. Next week, we're coming back here with a different topic, different facilitators, a lot to learn. So see you next week. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your week. Bye.